know what? I was just thinking this is actually really going to be the episode where we're finally going to air some dirty laundry. If you catch my drift here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, you good to go?
Yeah, everything good here.
All right, hello there, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Masmorra.
And I'm Hera.
And this is episode 42 of the Town Center, your podcast dedicated to all things Age of Empires. In today's show, TheViper drops a true bombshell as he reveals that Gamer Legion has owed him salary money and tournament prize money going back more than a year. In the same stream, he also mentioned me and the Town Center podcast, and in this episode, I'd like to address his words. Later in the show, we'll be joined by MBL to discuss his huge success in the Last Chance qualifier, talk about the 3 tech trees of new civilizations that we have coming in the next DLC, and we'll preview the Titans League Season 5, which is set to start this week. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and if you'd like to support us further, please do consider a donation. Thank you very much. All right, Hera, I don't think it's any disrespect to MBL to say that we actually wanted to invite Viper to be here, but he politely declined, right? So because, I like, of course, we ideally would like to have like an open conversation about this. We did discuss stuff in private, but...
Now, it would have been great to have Viper just to kind of like talk things over. I think he would have, shared a bit more insight potentially if needed regarding his GL situation, regarding whatever else. But I mean, it's totally understandable. Like, we can also talk about like RedBull on this podcast and whatnot. And, it's just probably better for him to take a little bit of time after a gruesome grind in the RedBull ranked ladder into the Last Chance qualifier. So, totally understandable. But maybe we'll have him back on a future episode. And we have Budget, the second Norwegian, coming up anyway, MBL. So it should be good enough. Budget Viper.
It's going to be a good replacement. It's going to be a good replacement for sure.
I'm excited.
Okay, so Hera, I obviously have been dying to get this off my chest. So if you don't mind, I'd like to start things off here by addressing Viper's comments towards me in the podcast. And I want to make sure I don't misquote him here. So just in case people have not listened to those comments, I'm going to play the relevant clip for you guys.
So are you going to join the podcast now that GL is over? Podcast is a bit weird. Like, I started it together with Masmorra. And while I would still say he was more the driving force, he knew the reasons why I stepped down from it or why I couldn't continue it, right? But he continued it with Hera, and well, I have to be honest, it's a little bit disappointing, right? We hadn't even talked outside of the podcast. We had talked, okay, maybe we just continue the podcast outside of GL, right? But yeah, he didn't really talk to me about it or anything, and I see that he announced it that he's doing it now on Hera's channel. As I was kind of expecting at least to be like, hey, is it fine that we do this and this and that, right? To have to be honest, that was a little bit disappointing, but it is what it is.
Okay, and before I go any further, let me just say that I've already talked to Viper in private, and I explained everything I'm about to explain you and the viewers, and we kind of both agreed communication could have been a bit better between us, but, we're good, no hard feelings, and everybody's ready to move on. Having said that, again, I'd like to give my side of things, and actually, I'd love to hear if you think that I'm seeing things wrong, or, feel free to interrupt me at any point. So, in September, Viper messaged me on Discord and he lets me know that he doesn't want to do the podcast anymore because he's owed a lot of money. And, I said, dude, totally understandable. He did say how much money it was, that it's a lot of money. I'm obviously not going to reveal how much it was, but it's a lot of money. And I said, dude, totally understandable for sure. And in that conversation, it is true that at some point I actually asked him, hey, listen, if Gamer Legion at some point is gone, could you envision yourself doing this podcast with me outside of GL if by any chance we get some sort of funding going on, And he said something like, yeah, possibly, yeah. He said something like this. Now, to be fair, at that point, I never was seriously considering doing this outside of GL because all the signs I was hearing from GL was like, yeah, things are rough right now, but we're going to be fine. We're going to fix things. We're going to have a new player next year.
Up until the last moments, GL was telling me like, oh no, we're going to find a way to continue. And like, I only found out that they were gone on the last day. So yeah, like that's absolutely true that they were like really hanging on to staying in the scene and whatnot. So just to add a little context there as well from my side.
Yeah, I think a lot of you guys only realized it's all done once they actually made the statement, not before that.
No communication before they made the statement. I found out when the viewers found out, basically, that they were leaving the scene.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so between that message, after that message in early September, I think it was, we had like 2 short interactions about completely unrelated stuff. But then I think it was early October, last time we spoke. So between early October and like 3 days ago, when Viper made his stream, we have not exchanged a word. So there was no communication between the two of us, none whatsoever. And I don't say this as a critique or anything. I'm just saying, I was leaving my life, he was leaving his. I don't think there was any beef between any of us, but there just was no communication. And, even after Gamer Legion announced that they were leaving the scene, and I assume Viper must have known that I was like looking for solutions for the podcast. I made it public that I'm looking for solutions. Again, no word from him. He didn't reach out to me. I didn't reach out to him for sure. So I guess, we're both to blame here, so to speak, in that sense. So then when Gamer Legion actually announces they're leaving, that was actually the first time I had to seriously consider, what do I do with the podcast? Do I continue it? Do I want to continue it? Is there any point in doing it? And as I seriously started considering all of these things, it became very early clear to me, Hera, that I could never do it in my own channel as much as I would have loved to, because the reason is very simple. Because if I want to have a co-host, someone to do it with me, I need to offer some sort of compensation. I'm not the kind of guy who's going to go to, ask you or ask Viper or whoever, hey, listen, you want to do a podcast with me every 2 weeks, but, I can't really pay you. It's only for fun and giggles. I can't do that. It's just not realistic, right? And so as I was pondering all of these things, you and I get in touch and you make the suggestion to make the podcast in your channel. And to me, it was like, yeah, dude, this is perfect. Now I don't need to pay my co-host. I have someone who's as invested as I am in seeing the show succeed. It's like the perfect solution for me. And at this point, I did consider talking to Viper. But again, I ask viewers to put themselves in my shoes. We hadn't spoken in 4 months. As far as I'm concerned, he doesn't really care about the podcast anymore. And again, this is not a critique. He's got enough on his plate. He's got the kid, he's got the lawsuits, GL owes him money, RedBull ladder is going on. He's got enough on his plate. Totally understandable. He does not care about the podcast. It is a priority for me. I don't think it's a priority for him, or it was. Totally fine. And even, I think a lot about these things, even if he did care about it, again, imagine after 3-4 months, out of the blue, I message Viper and I go like, hey, just so you know, Viper, I'm doing it with Hera now. Sorry. Doesn't that come across as like the biggest douche ever? I mean, of course, I wouldn't phrase things that way. I would try to be a little bit more diplomatic about it, for sure. But as I was like reviewing this interaction in my head, I just could not shake the feeling I would come across as the biggest douche ever. And I respect Viper too much. We're friends. I did not want to give him that feeling that I'm like, rubbing it in his face.
After hearing some of this, I think it really just comes down to the podcast being really important to you, and you just thinking that the podcast was not that important for Viper, so you not wanting to impose yourself when he's got so much going on.
100,000% that was the case for me.
From my perspective as well, like I did make a tweet about this to clear the air, because I had some guys. What's funny is that when this was all going down on Viper's channel, I was streaming, and so I had guys immediately running to me. Did you hear what Viper said about GL? Apparently, you stole the podcast. I was like, whoa, guys, I haven't heard anything. Give me a second. When the stream was over, I kind of heard what he said, and I just clarified, with the tweet what was going on. Like, I didn't jump to steal the podcast from anyone. It was offered to me by GL. After Viper stepped down. I didn't even inquire too much about the reasons why he stepped down. I kind of knew what it was, but I was just like, okay, Viper stepped down. He had his reasons. Sure. Let me take it over. And then once GL left, actually the guy behind the scenes that's still working on this podcast with us reached out to me once again and said, Nelson's looking for ideas on, potentially continue the podcast after GL. So I said, okay, let's consider some things with him. And I'm happy I did, honestly, because I think it's really worthwhile to bring this podcast to the listeners. And again, from my perspective, I had no idea what was going on with Viper. I also assumed, like you, I think he just didn't care, or I thought he just didn't care about it, I thought he was just moving on from it. But, fair enough. I think it just comes down to miscommunication, and, it can happen for sure, honestly.
Yeah, and in case, just to finish things off. So, yeah, first of all, I didn't think he cared. Then I thought if I messaged him out of the blue, I'd be looking like a jerk. And I respect Viper too much to actually do that to me. But turns out he at least cared enough to be hurt by my actions. And that's on me. That's my bad. I 100% take the blame for that. I should have messaged him. It doesn't matter how awkward it would have been. And it would have been very awkward for me Even if not for him, it would have been incredibly awkward, but I should have done it. Such an easy thing to do. I didn't do it. My bad. I apologize to him in private. I apologize to him here again, just in case he's listening to this. But yeah, I hope this somewhat, gives a little bit of context, at least, to what transpired. Of course, I did not want to hurt him. That's not what this is. And again, we're good. We cleared things up. Everybody's ready to move on. But and if I may, Hera, just a tiny little bit of criticism that I might have for Viper, and I actually didn't tell him this, but I think he would agree with me, was that I wish if he was going to name me publicly like that on his stream, I wish he would have told me first in private. And as I say this, I realize that's exactly the critique that he had for me, that I didn't message him in private, right? I realize that, but maybe I'm just coping. I do feel like if you're actually naming somebody, I do feel like that maybe could have warranted like an extra layer of caution on his part, because you know how people are, big streamer, names somebody he's not happy with, you're going to get a lot of messages. And
yeah, so like
a lot of messages I did get. A lot of messages. None of them very nice. Some were nice, but many
the funny thing is about that. So I agree, because I think it's not because what Viper said was so bad. Like what Viper said was like, it was like a mild thing.
Yes.
He wasn't like throwing it under the bus or anything like that, but it was like a mild thing. He just brought you up and, said that he was disappointed about the situation. And then immediately, first comment in the chat, F Masmorra.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. So I'm glad I didn't see it live. That's the kind of thing that I recoil when I see stuff
when
like
I went back to watch it in the VOD, the first thing, F Masmorra, how could he do this? What a snake. I don't know. Now I'm just paraphrasing. I've read comments everywhere, but it's just that like viewers always take things to the extreme. If Viper's like level 2 disappointment, the viewers jump to like level 9. So
20,000, yeah, for sure.
It's always better to just DM these. And I've learned my lessons in the past about the exact same issue as well. It's very.
In any case, I want to make clear, I'm not trying to shift blame. Again, I take full responsibility. It would have been incredibly easy to just do it, get it over with. I didn't. I'm going to learn from this. Again, I hope Viper can forgive me for this. But what you said there is very interesting, Hera, because I agree. I mean, the brunt, his stream was not about the podcast at all. And if you listen to the whole thing, you can very easily tell he wasn't thinking about talking about it, but then he got debated by the viewers.
There's a comment in the chat that asked him about the podcast, and then he replied without having, it was not planned. His initial planned message was about the Gamer Legion situation, which I guess we can move on to now, probably.
Yeah, that's what I'm about to bring for sure. Yeah, but yeah, just wanted to make it clear. He didn't plan to do this. It was very clear to me, and maybe that's why he didn't really consider how this could have come across when he does this. But again, I'm not mad at him. Nothing, 100%. Time to move on. I hope everybody understands where I'm coming from. So as we just said, the whole thing was mostly him revealing that Gamer Legion at the time of the stream owed him a lot of money, and not only salaries, but also, for example, his prize money from last RedBull, which is from October 2024. So let me hear your first thoughts on this.
Well, my first thoughts are that, it's obviously completely unacceptable from GL's perspective. Yeah, this is obviously, this is exactly what he said, but, an esports team is supposed to facilitate things for the players. The whole point is that they make things easy for the player, so the player can only focus on tournaments, so you can be in a clear mental. And they obviously did the opposite of that. They added extra stress to his life. They delayed him payments. And I think worst of all, and this is really the thing that's undefendable, is that they delayed him payments that he had earned. So in the form of RedBull 2024, he earned that. That really had nothing to do with Gamer Legion. He practiced, he played, he earned, he placed second. And that being, withheld for so long, it is a massive issue. Now, from GL's side, I think they did mention some kind of withholding tax. And, there's always some kind of reason there as to why there's so many delays. But I think we can all agree that at a certain point, you just got to pay the players, especially, if it's now going on, several months and even years. It's really hard to find any kind of justification for that.
I imagine people might be a little bit confused here, Hera. And I don't know if you can talk about this. Let me know if you can't. But the prize money, RedBull prize money, is actually paid by Microsoft. So some folks might be actually wondering, what does this all have to do with Gamer Legion? Why is Gamer Legion being blamed for the fact that Viper did not receive his prize money? I have an idea, I think, why, but...
Yeah. No, I can talk about it because I actually got permission from the Gamer Legion guy to talk about this and to talk about also some of my payment situations as well. Just because normally in the contract, even till like 6 months after. I can't really reveal any kind of details or talk about some of the internal
There's like
implications
a
of things.
non-disparagement agreement. Is that true? I've heard it.
It's something like that, yeah.
That's
Till even a few
crazy to
months
me.
after. But no, listen, I got some permission, so I just want to be fair to all parties, to GL, and obviously let the viewers into some of how things work on the inside. So Gamer Legion receives our tournament prize pool, and this is really just to facilitate the situation. So in an ideal world, they take the tournament prize pool, they take a cut of our tournaments, X amount of percentage from our tournaments goes to them. So they receive the entire prize pool, they take their cut, they send us what we're owed. And it's supposed to work nice and easy. It shouldn't take a whole lot of time. And it's basically just made to facilitate the process while letting them get their cut. And in exchange for their cut, they obviously pay us salaries. They organize boot camps for us. They really give us a good amount in exchange for that. So if things work properly and payments are made on time, it's actually a very good system where both parties are benefiting. And that's kind of how it works.
Okay, so Hera, the big question on people's minds, of course. Viper only talked about his situation, but there were more players in the team. I don't expect you to talk about Doubt or Tato, but from your side, were there delays in payments to you as well?
Yeah, so I was basically I wouldn't say the exact same situation as Viper, but let's say more or less the same situation as Viper. I was also owed RedBull 2024 for a long time. I was also owed several salaries. I was owed the majority, if not all, of 2025. In fact,
Wow.
It still hasn't been paid fully in my case. So let me run you guys through what happened with me. A good chunk of the payments, including RedBull, was paid in November 2025, which is actually right around the time I took over the podcast. So maybe I was feeling a little bit, in
generous.
good faith to pay them back and take over the podcast. So they had paid a good chunk in November 2025. But again, this is like still several months, even like a year after RedBull finished. So, tons of time. And I'm actually still owed money to this day, a good chunk of money. Again, can't say how much, but a lot.
Wow.
And it's coming. We have an agreement.
Can you say
it's
5
coming-
figures, 6 figures? Can you reveal that?
It's a lot. I don't want to get into any details, but it's coming actually this Tuesday. So that we had an agreement.
Okay.
Actually, the reason why I didn't speak about this earlier myself, I mean, number one, I couldn't really contractually, and I'm really like a newbie with that kind of stuff, so I just stay clear of anything. I didn't have like a lawyer giving me any advice or anything, so I just stayed clear of all of it. But the reason I didn't speak about it earlier is that every single time there's been delays, it has been paid in my case.
Okay.
So I figured, he's shown good faith in some of the other payments. I know the delays are crazy, but he told me that, end of January or around end of January, he'd pay off everything. And he seems to still be, committed to that. We have the payment set in 2 days, which is like early February. If that comes through, we're good. Everything's paid for me.
What if not?
And I can move on. If not, honestly, I'll probably just continue working with him on the back end. He's still like in communication. He hasn't ghosted me. My biggest fear is if they just ghost me and they don't answer me whatsoever.
Fair.
Then obviously the red flags will start going off. But he's still talking to me. Again, I've seen some good faith from him and wanting to get that paid out. Eventually. So yeah, we'll see. That's kind of my situation. Again, very similar with Viper, which is why I can really empathize with the situation. Listen, I think I'm just happy that in Viper's case that everything was paid out now. I think that's really good.
Important point. Everything has been paid. Viper's made a video. He's got all his money.
Yeah. And I should be good too, just to clarify, because I really don't want to like drag this on longer than it has. I should be getting paid, and we can just move on. And I think I like what Viper said. He wants to move past this chapter of delayed payments, so you can remember all the good
Focus
things.
on the positives. I love that too. It was a nice statement. It was a nice line.
Really good from him. I love that. I think the exact same way. Like they've done so much good, and despite the bad, listen, it's bad. Like I'm not here to like defend it or anything. It's bad. I experienced it as well. But despite all that, they still provided community tournaments. They still provided like major S tiers, LAN events, etc., and boot camps, and gave us some really good memories. So I'm grateful for GL despite everything, and I hope the chapter can close and we can look positively back on all of it.
Yeah, it's one thing, and a lot of people have actually questioned themselves, how do esports teams make money? And the truth is, a lot of them don't. Most of the times, it's just like a passion project for a lot of the people who own these teams, and that's why very often things end up going south. In this case, was just now everything just came together all at once for Gamer Legion. And for the record, Hera, I'm actually owed money, not nearly enough as much as you guys, of course. And I've been owed money for many, many months too. Again, not nearly close. I assume as much as you guys. And I did continue working with Gamer Legion because in my case, I felt like the fee they were paying me, so I was paid per video, per podcast. I felt like the fee they were paying me was very fair. So I was more than happy, to do stuff extra. I did a lot of extra during the time I worked with Gamer Legion. I streamed stuff I wasn't paid for. I made videos I wasn't paid for. I mean, not even supposed to be paid for, let alone the ones that I was supposed to be paid for. But that's fine. I still cherish I think in my case here, it's also very different because if a new team comes to the scene, of course they want to have the best players. So you, Viper, you guys will never have a problem getting a team. Of course, when it comes to content creators and someone who was basically a nobody and kind of still is a nobody, it's really not something you can expect that they're going to give you a chance. And they gave me a chance with a fair payment too. So I'll never forget that. I felt like I've grown as a content creator. I hope my content is a bit better now. So I'll never forget them and really be thankful for this experience. And,
when it comes to the world of esports, they kind of took a chance on Age of Empires 2 as well. It was, like you said, a passion project. They were never really profitable with us. So overall, I'm kind of happy that they passed by and gave us a chance. Potentially, it's the reason why Vitality was looking into it. Maybe some other esports teams looked into us because they saw, Game Legions in there a little bit. You never really know with these things.
Yeah, they elevate the scene for sure, right?
Yeah, exactly. And now we're hoping with Vitality coming in that maybe some other teams can come through, because the dream is to have enough teams where you can get a lot of professional players around, and it's not just like one group that's professional and no one else. So we'll see what happens, but I think the future is looking bright in my opinion.
Okay, so that's it for the first part of the show. We're now gonna set up the call with MBL, and we'll be right back. Don't you guys go anywhere. All right, everybody, we're back, and we're now joined by MBL. MBL, thank you very much for taking the time, and welcome again to the Town Center, my friend.
Hello, thank you. Glad to be here.
Hey, listen, MBL, how pissed are you that Hera didn't get you into Vitality? I want to start with the big questions,
I'm not pissed at all. It's okay. I have my own team, TAG, represent Taiwan.
Good answer, MBL. Don't let him bait you. Don't let him bait you.
That's exactly what we're supposed to say. All right, boys, let's discuss the last chance qualifier. And I'd just like to give a broad overview of what happened, of course. So after Hera, ACCM, Leary, and Hart had qualified through the ranked ladder, we now finally have the names of the 4 remaining players who will be present at the RedBull main event. Those are Vinchester, Mr. Yo, Sebastian, and our very own MBL. So MBL, congratulations, my friend. You've been to every single RedBull tournament. I'm sure you're aware of this, but it's pretty impressive. What a beast.
Somehow, yeah. Like I'm not getting to NEC, I'm not getting to the Germany lands or China, but RedBull is just...
Is there anything about Empire Wars that you feel like especially comfortable with? You feel like you're better at Empire Wars than Random Map, for example? Do you like it?
Oh, I think I'm just lucky, man. Like, to be honest. I guess the margins are a bit better. Like, the game is more fast-paced, and I mean, you could be a bit more lucky as well. And I don't know. It's chaotic, It's fun to play, and
I would say that you actually are favored on Empire Wars because the games end up being a little bit more. I think you use the right word, chaotic. They're a bit messier.
And they don't have that darkish builder, Like where I'm kind of weak, Like early darkish, I tend to throw all my resources on early walls and things like that. And in Empire Wars, everything is just set up randomly, and it's okay, you just play it from there.
Exactly. You have to make whatever you can from the situation that you're given. I think you're really good at doing that. So yeah, that's good. I think there's something with Empires and you that go well together. But yeah, congrats on making it to RedBull. I think you had probably the best series up against Lewis there, or one of them. It was an absolute banger.
I think Viper Sebastian was the best series, right? But coming back from 3-1 was good. Nerves were there, and
I think what made it more epic MBL was that you guys actually didn't allow people to spectate the last game, so everybody was just waiting for it.
I had no idea. Lewis was
How
the
does
host.
that even happen, bro?
Lewis was the host. You can't blame me. I don't even know how he managed. I don't understand. I don't know what he did.
Don't the settings save from game to game? So
they should. It's either a massive glitch or he just misclicked it. But I wouldn't even blame him because he's probably so nervous being 3-1 then 3-3. He was probably clicking left and right in that lobby, guys. He probably he probably clicked it by accident. Take off spectators and
such a good point, actually.
When the game ended, I went to Twitch to check the results and stuff, and honestly, I just saw people sitting there. They didn't do anything. I was like, what what happened? Did my game crash? Did they go out of sync? And then I went back to their VOD, and they're not casting anything from the last game. And then suddenly I realized that there's no spec. And I was like, what? Like, maybe my game doesn't count now, you know? Because they weren't spectating.
But that made it all the more epic, in my opinion. Okay, Hera, I'd like to focus... Okay, well, yeah, in your case at least. Hera, I'd like to discuss a little bit the series and Lewis just in general. Because, I mean, we know he's been incredibly heartbroken about this. So you were casting the whole thing, of course. So what was Lewis missing in that series? He's ahead 3-1, 3 match points, can't close it. What happened there?
Yeah, so I casted the whole thing, so I saw pretty much exactly what happened. And I think what happened is MBL being, back against the wall, needing one more win. Obviously I don't want to speak for you, MBL, but I think you were just ready to try anything. And he had some comfort picks left with Byzantines and Vietnamese left that are really good at going for the forward towers and mass skirmishers. And it just so happened that this was Lewis's...
Not Vietnamese.
Oh, sorry, Byzantines and Koreans. He had Vietnamese. That's correct. Yeah. And it just so happened that you had like the tower skirm civs, and that was Lewis's weakness as well. Every time that MBL would come forward for towers, Lewis would kind of stay a little stubborn towards his like fast castle plan, and he would struggle to adapt and defend those towers. And it's something that I can really empathize with in terms of like Lewis's position, because I struggled with the same thing way back, a few years ago. And it's just really hard to know what to do on that stage when you're already nervous, you already have a plan, and then it gets completely blocked by what your opponent is doing. And he had difficulty adapting to that aggressive style from MBL, and I think that actually cost him the next 3 games. I did speak with him since then, and he's obviously incredibly heartbroken. But he did tell me like he kind of reacted bad, so he felt like he deserved to lose. But I think that's probably one of the losses that will haunt him for a while, but that will also be really good for his career because he'll learn a lot from that one. So fair enough.
Agreed, MBL?
Yeah, I do feel bad for him as well, and I do think maybe the lack of experience came in there. Who knows?
Was it a conscious decision from your part to just play towers, make it messy? Maybe Lewis is not used to this, or it's just the way you like to play anyway, so it's not targeted towards Lewis.
I had the idea to do this with these 2 civs from the beginning, double range skirm, because they are really powerful with that, and then the forward tower because Lewis likes to wall early, and the forward tower just to pressure with more army and just get in. So it was the plan from the beginning. It's not because I was down 3-1 or anything.
Interesting.
But I did feel the more pressure doing these strategies being down 3-1 because they are risky. But it was my plan from the beginning, so I just stuck to it. And I was like, if it doesn't work, then I'm not going to RedBull,
Okay, so you're still holding on some hope there. I have these powerful strategies, could be very good against Lewis. When you're 3-1 down, you're not like despairing or anything.
Well, I was despairing after I lost the Romans Armenians game. I was like, I can't believe this is happening, and I was losing hope. But eventually, when I got to 3-3, then the hope came back.
The MBL, can you please tell the podcast listeners about your dream that you had before that set?
Yeah,
I think. Yeah, go ahead. Please.
Yeah, a week before the drawing, like when I was playing the ranked games, I had a dream that I was in the last final, like against Lewis in the bracket, and I lost. And that was even before I even drew Lewis at the top 8, So,
were you reliving that dream as you were playing?
So I was
like
living the dream, like oh my god, I'm losing, It's like just in the dream. But I managed to not to make it happen,
Hey, listen, that's the advantage of seeing the future. So you're actually that's OP. You see the future, you can fight against it. That's amazing. MBL, listen, in the past, you've been public about your lack of practice when it comes to like the big tournaments, and you very publicly said you just like to kind of wing it most of the times. This time around, my friend, potential to be in the Royal Albert Hall, a lot of money on the line, top 8 players in the world. Are you going to do things differently?
I practice a lot. I already played the ladder, man.
And that's it?
I'm done practicing.
You're done with practice? Seriously now?
No. I will practice some, for sure. I did practice some before my set against Lewis as well, but not as much as I wanted to. Like I had 1 set against Viper and 1 set against Nico, and that was it. So I didn't get the preparation I wanted to have. Like I wanted to have more ideas what to do. So when I, for example, played Romans into Armenians, I didn't know what to do because he got long swords all of a sudden. Like things like that really showed my lack of preparation there, and I think I need to be a little bit more prepared for a lot of things before London. Yeah,
I'd like to discuss with you guys the other matches on the last chance qualifiers. So we had Mr. Yo beating Barles 4-2, Vinchester beating VV 4-1. I'll say these results were sort of expected. So I don't know, in my opinion, there's not much to say about that unless Mr. Yo deserves minus 100 ELO probably for winning. But then, of course, we had the big one, my friends. Sebastian beats Viper 4-3, which now means Viper will not participate in this Red Bull, at least not as a player. Unbelievable result for Sebastian, who makes it again to a Red Bull tournament. Now, and the thing I'm thinking about here, Hera, is that Viper obviously very recently had an amazing performance in King of the Desert 6. He finished second, but even there, he actually struggled to beat Sebastian. He won 4-3 after using the Portuguese phosphor in the very last game, which was also pretty close and pretty epic. So, despite all that, is this a result that still surprises you?
That's a good point. Actually, I had forgotten about their meeting in the KOTD, but that was very close. I mean, it doesn't really surprise me that Sebastian's able to win a close series. I think Sebastian's been a really good player for a long time now. And if anything, I feel like he's been underperforming in tournaments compared to where he could be at. Like, he hasn't been playing bad, obviously, but he always drops. I think he's like closer to top 4 or to top 8 than top 16. So Sebastian is like really high up there, in my opinion. So I'm not surprised that he could beat Viper, but I think how it happened was just so epic that you really just didn't know who was going to win up until the last moment. And that was the surprising part for me. I didn't realize I can feel so many emotions because I like both players. I like both Viper and Sebastian. Viper's a guy, I looked up to him as a player for like years. He's obviously like an icon of the scene. You always want him at LAN events if you can. He's a huge name. And then Sebastian, I've grown to like chilling with him. He's a very chill, easygoing guy. So, I like to see him do well as well. And then like 3-3 in the decider game, and you just never knew who was going to end up taking it. And that was like that was the surprising, that was the epic part for me. But yeah, I absolutely loved every moment of that set. It was a really good one.
That last game was really good. So it was Dravidians against Persians. In theory, on that map, MBL, who's got the advantage there?
I think Dravidians, because of the early start with the extra wood and man-arm aggression, for example. But later on, maybe Persians, because of fast working TSCs and stuff. But I don't know. I do think the Bracer has a huge impact, like fast arbless timing, everything, and holding the water and things like that. So I think like the earlier start with Dravidians gives you a nice advantage, and then you can keep that advantage to Imp, and then you can snowball it from there. So it's really hard as Persians. I was looking at Viper's last 2 picks. It was Spanish or Persians. Persians does seem like the safest choice to me. So I was thinking that he was going to go for that. But I would also like to see him doing like Viper is so good with these FC strats, right? FC conks, something like that. Could have been quite interesting, but I guess Dravidians with fast skirms.
Yeah, I'm not sure about fast castle conks on that map specifically, just because on that map, the men-at-arms come out immediately. Like Empire Wars, you really don't have that build-up where you can like wall up. And if you get pushed off Shorefish, I don't even think you're getting to conks. But like, there could be a world where he just makes a few towers and tries to defend, but I think he made the right call going for Persians. And I think what he wanted, actually, was that forward dock. And Sebastian, with that brilliant outpost to scout out that forward dock and deny it initially, I think that really slowed down Viper's plan.
The more HP on the docks is actually really nice too. So if you get a sneaky dock and stuff, it's really nice. But Sebastian did everything he could to counter it with outpost. He seemed really well prepared on that map.
Man, I love this kind of insight. You guys going back and forth. I love this kind of crap. It's amazing. Okay, so just to put into perspective, how much of a big deal this is. This is the first 1v1 S-tier tournament Viper will miss out on since 2013 when he won the Clash of the Titans. Since there have been 43 1v1 S-tiers. He's been part of all of them, and Viper has won 15 of them. And I kind of wonder, Hera, do you see the fact that Viper is now eliminated? Is this more a sign of his lack of consistency, or is it more the merit of all the competition, of all these new guys who are just getting incredibly good at Age of Empires 2? I mean, it's probably a mix of both for sure, but how do you tilt the scales there?
Yeah, I would say it's probably a mix of both in the sense of like the competition has gotten a lot more intense. Like I remember, I spoke about this on stream as well, but I remember a few years back, you had like a few free rounds. If you're a top name, like round of 32, it's free. You're playing against some guy you've never heard of. He's like 2,000 ELO. He doesn't know what he's doing. Now, round of 32, you're up against like a 2K5 player, and he knows exactly what he's doing, and it's a hard round. Round of 16, you're playing against already a pro player. You know what I mean? So the competition has increased so much. There are no more free rounds anywhere, basically. And, as far as Viper's lack of consistency, I noticed something actually in the ladder qualifier. But I noticed that in the first few games of the day that he would play really well. He would often go on like win streaks. I don't know if anyone else caught that. And then in the last few games of the day, he would actually start losing all his elo. And then it would be rinse repeat. So the days where he played a lot in the morning, he'd gain a lot of elo. When he played a lot, or just like too many games, he would start falling off a little bit. So I think it's really a question of playing when he's best and playing when he's got that energy. And AoE2 is a very like intense game. So I would say that he's not like inconsistent in his results. I would say he's probably more inconsistent in how much he's able to play at his best. That being said, I think that this loss might light a fire under him, and I think he can come back stronger. I certainly hope he does. I think he's not quite done. Like maybe Doubt would say. I don't think he's quite done. I think he's still got a lot of fire left in him and a lot of fight left to give, which I think is really awesome for the community.
Mm-hmm. One thing that stands out to me, MBL, when I see the list of the players that have qualified, I can see a very clear first. I can see a very strong second. But then I personally wouldn't be surprised to see anyone finishing for a third. From the remainder of the players.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
I think the competition is super close. We can't rule out Hera losing it as well. We have Leary there who can take him out. I think
we have
Leary
MBL there as well.
Somebody needs to spike his drink or whatever.
Winchester has also been someone in my mind that could also like challenge Hera, but Winchester has a good style, for example, against Hera, but he has a bad style against Hart. So if Winchester meets Hart early, then maybe he can't even face Hera or get to the point. So it kind of depends on that. It's just like style-wise, it's also depends on who you meet. But Hera is like overall so good that he can meet everyone, while if I meet, for example, Hart, I'm cooked because he puts so much early aggression on me that I'm just dead immediately. And
that's
also
about the matchups. That's so interesting.
I need someone who plays a little bit slow and boomy, so
that I get
some.
Like
Mysterio, Mysterio would be fine for me to meet. Maybe, honestly, Sebastian, I have a good resource against, and I think. Except for Hera, Hart, Leary, I can be fine.
Except for half the players.
Except for half the players, I'm totally fine. Hera, people were saying viewership is probably going to tank because Viper, of course, is such a popular streamer, such an icon of the scene, as just said. Do you see that happening?
That's an interesting question. It's hard to know. He's definitely gonna be missed at the event. That's like without a question. People who tune in will be missing Viper a lot. I think there's gonna be talk about him, not being there. But I think that most people who want to watch this event will probably still tune in. And this is not because like Viper's there or not. It's really just due to RedBull's consistency with how good these events have been. And if this is more a case of like RedBull building up its name really high. So no matter who's missing from the players, I think people would still want to come in and watch the event. That being said, I could see a world where a few dedicated Viper fans for years just lose interest entirely and don't tune in. So probably a little bit will be missing in terms of viewership, but I think majority of people would probably tune in, but at the same time feel sad that Viper didn't make it in. I feel like that would be like the majority, let's say.
Mm-hmm. MBL, same thought.
Yeah. I agree as well, but like, there's a lot of people that said when Viper lost that I'm gonna stop watching. There's no point watching anymore. But I still think they're gonna come tune in anyway because they just can't resist. They want to see how it goes.
I kind of agree. I mean, when you hear 3,000 people on the Royal Albert Hall live, are we really gonna miss out on that? I don't think so.
There might be a few, maybe like 50 people who are like diehard Viper fans that sells their ticket to someone else, maybe, or something like that. But I still think the event is going to be great.
I would just say, on that note, I do hope that they actually bring in Viper as some kind of like either analyst.
100% agreed. 100%.
Like, I feel like he's such a big name. People that paid the ticket want to see him. They want to take pictures. He's a really chill guy with the fans as well. He can sit there talking for hours. People come up, you can get signatures, and there's space for this. So bring him in as an analyst. He has like invaluable feedback and invaluable insight, and then he can still be present for the people that want to see him. I think that would be a really good middle ground. And actually, I do want to bring up something here, but I'm really not sure what's going to happen. But in the case of a missed visa, technically, there's still a
Ooh.
chance for
for
Viper,
sure, yeah.
Lewis, and Barles,
Yeah.
and one more.
Vivi? Did you say Vivi? I think
Vivi,
it's
yeah,
Vivi.
Vivi as well. So Vivi as well. So technically, they have a chance to make it through a replacement qualifier. I'm not sure what's going to happen with that, but you never know. Like, it's still not 100% confirmed.
Okay,
that
Lewis
those
is
players
surely
finish
not going to miss on a visa, but
there's still some
Winchester.
suspense, you know. There might
Yeah.
be someone.
Of course, we're all thinking about Winchester, right? That would be like the biggest candidate. I mean, I say this with no glee for sure, but it's what could
Like,
eventually happen.
Winchester, Mr. Yo, you never know if there's like no time limit. So again, I'm not like hoping that happens, but it is
Obviously.
worth mentioning that it's happened in another Red Bull, and so you never know if it
Yeah.
happens now. So if I were those players, I would actually keep my skills sharp in Empire Wars just in case. You never
Okay.
know.
All right, folks,
Yeah.
I'd like to move on here. A few days ago on a Reddit thread, we got access to screenshots of the full tech trees for the 3 new civilizations coming with the next DLC, The
I
Last
haven't seen
Chieftains.
that.
Okay, well, I got to tell you about some of the things. You tell me your opinion on those. So Hera has already made a full video about it, of
Of
course.
course it did.
Yeah, of course he did. So what I'd like to do here, folks, is I sort of picked some of the bonuses and units that sort of stood out to me the most, and I'd love to hear like a back and forth between you guys on whether you think those sound interesting, not so interesting, maybe potentially broken. So as expected, they all miss on the stable. And they all have the Champi Warrior. And so this guy is going to be available to all the 3 new civilizations and the Inca. And this seems to be like a sort of an Eagle Warrior. So it's apparently fast, it's good against archers, it's bad against cavalry, and it can build outposts. How much?
What?
Yes, in Dark Age. Even.
Oh,
So
what? I'm outpost rushing, man.
it's made for you. They were thinking about you, ABL.
Dude, I can already see my hotkeys being messed up. Like, I'm gonna patrol, but instead of I'm building and then I can't patrol, I'm making outposts. Like, it's gonna be terrible. No, but it sounds interesting. And in Empire Wars, maybe these units are. Do you know the cost of those units, for example?
We don't have any costs, any
Nothing.
stats. We have none of that.
Okay, but like, I'm guessing like maybe they are very similar to Eagles.
Yeah, importantly, they also replace the militia line. So they have no militia line. That's
They have no militia line.
No militia line. So it's probably important.
What?
Yeah, Hera. Oh, what's your take on the unit?
Yeah, so I think the units, I think the building outposts will actually be very good.
Really?
For a few reasons. Building like outposts in general are really, really strong. They're just good buildings. And I think getting outposts down in Feudal Age in your opponent's base, it's really hard for your opponent to kill those outposts. Like in Castle Age, they can send like few knights, they kill it in like 10, 30 seconds max. In Feudal Age, that would be like a 1 minute process per outpost with a few units, which is just way too much. So you can actually build outposts in your opponent's base without having to sacrifice villager idle time or villager walking time. And if you get Town Watch with those outposts, you can get full vision of your opponent's base really quickly. And I think that will 100% be a viable strategy because full vision is extremely powerful and it's really hard for your opponent to counterplay that. So I imagine that's going to be a strong point of the unit. Whether the unit will be good besides that will be entirely dependent on its stat line and how it actually does in combat and whatnot.
Mhm.
I'm just getting pictures in my head now. Units making outposts everywhere, and when we're done fighting, they're just outposts all over the map. It's gonna be so
It's gonna be
annoying, man.
some meme shit going on for sure. Okay, MPL, what do you make of this, my friend? So then there are settlements. That's like a unique building for the Mapuche specifically. So listen to this. Settlements are like a unique building for the 3 new civilizations, and they replace all camps and mills. So these thieves don't have any
So
lumber
they're like
camp,
sort of like a mule cart in a way, but except for
but also mills. Mills are also
Yeah, but
replaced.
also
So
mills for farm,
They don't have
yeah.
any, but it's not done. Listen to this, MPL. For the Mapuche specifically, settlements can also train spears and skirms.
what?
We don't know the cost. We don't know how long they take to train. Again, this sounds incredibly broken to me. There's got to be something, but what's your initial take upon hearing
Yeah,
this?
that's crazy. But do they also not require 2 buildings to get up to the next age then?
It's probably a settlement's going to be enough, right? That's the only way I imagine this, because otherwise none of this makes any sense, in my
So I
opinion.
guess it costs like 150 wood to build it as well, or something like that.
150 is the max because you need to have 2 houses, then you have to make it. So 150 is the absolute max it's going to cost, 100%.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be probably some limitations there. If there's no limitations and they train the same speed as they come out of the barracks and the range, I think that's completely broken. Like,
Yeah, that's crazy. You could have like 2 Mapuches, but one on the berries, one on lumber camp, and then when you hit feudal age, you can just start spamming like it's double range, and like you can go
Yep.
full skirm spear.
Yeah, with no
Instantly.
production building.
And forwards,
Yeah.
right? Forwards could be crazy with this thing
Yeah,
too.
you can go forward with 4 villagers, make a settlement on their stone to get like you can make a tower, then a settlement on stone, and then you can make from that settlement spears or
Yeah, that's
skirms, and then from the one
crazy.
at home you can make spears and skirms. So like you're basically getting a skirm spear rush, which is already a meta strategy, without having to invest into a barracks or a range, which is ridiculous.
That's
very
a
strong.
great point, though, Hera. You just brought up that they may be trained slower if you train them from the settlement. That would be
I have to take a minute to it. Like,
yeah. There has to be something. I agree. There has to be something.
Yeah.
Okay, so then still for the Mapuche, there's one bonus that sounds interesting to me, and that's that the enemy castles will be revealed on the map. So we don't really know how they're going to implement this. There are several ways they could do this, but if they implement this in a way that you can actually see when villagers start building the castle as opposed to when the castle is already done, would that be broken? Would that be way too broken, MBL?
if you can see it when it starts building, that's kind of insane. But once the castle is up, then maybe not. That too is just. I think that's not something that should have been there in the first place, in my opinion.
Too late, bro.
Because but I do think it's pretty strange, because if someone plays Arena, for example, and builds a castle behind the walls, you can already see it. It's like basically having a map pack, you know. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to have that kind of a bonus.
Hera?
And you reveal all enemy castles, by the way. So this has a lot of implications in team games as well. So, for example, in a team game, if any player of the opponent in like an arena or Black Forest is planning to go for a unique unit rush, as soon as they make a castle, you know their entire strategy. You know exactly how to prepare, and you know exactly what's coming, and that's a big deal. So I think this bonus is not that great overall, but I think it will have like niche situations where it's really good. As far as your question, Masmorra, I think when the villagers build the castle, if it showed it then, that could be really strong, but I don't think that's going to be the case. I think it will only show it once the castle is fully built, because technically before it's built, it's not a castle, it's just a foundation. That would be my
depends
guess,
how it's implemented, right? Depends how it's implemented. But anyway, sounds interesting to me, at least at least on paper.
I think it's going to be like Vietnamese bonus in a Nomad, for example.
Yeah.
That, you can't really see when they're building it, but when it
Once
pops
it's up.
Yeah,
makes sense. Makes total sense.
Exactly.
Yeah, probably that. Yeah. Okay, so then for the 2P, I didn't see anything that sounded too crazy to me personally. I guess we have that fallen units return 15% of their cost. Will this be a significant bonus in like late feudal, maybe once a few units have died, Hera, or?
That's insane, though.
Insane. Okay.
Well, I think the concept is insane, but I think 15% is quite low. So that means that for every 6 units that die, you get 1 unit for free. Like you can replace that unit, I believe, is how that math works out. So I think that's kind of low, but the best usage that I found, and probably MBL will agree with me, is that late feudal age, you just send all your army in to die, and then you just click up to Castle Age with all the resources that you get from that.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, it could be very, very strong to do that, for sure.
Okay.
I think so.
All right, I see MBL already scheming some crazy strats in his mind. I can see it in his head. Okay, so then the Muisca. Settlements cost minus 25%, and they heal nearby units, though you cannot make skirms or spears as you could for the Mapuche. Upon hearing this, the great Red Phosphor was saying on Reddit, in a Reddit post, that this bonus would make the Muisca Dark Age Vil Rush absolutely insane. Thoughts, Hera?
Yeah, I think so. I think they should make it they can only heal military units, actually, because if you can heal villagers, it would also be really strong for their defense, because now they have just like villagers that are healing while fighting near their settlements, and after a raid, like there's a low HP village, it just always heals back to full. So either they make the healing really slow, that's like ineffective at like fighting, then going back to heal. Or they just make it that it doesn't heal villagers, so you don't have to worry about the Vil Rush. That's kind of like my two solutions. If they make it like good healing and it heals Vils, then yeah, obviously Vil Rush will be absolutely broken.
Yeah, I do believe so as well. Like, it sounds just crazy. And imagine like people just Vil Rushing, like you said, like Phosphor said, and just heal their villagers under that building afterwards. It's just gonna be so gimmicky, and we don't want it to be too gimmicky. We want it to be competitive and realistic, but yeah, we shouldn't like what are we gonna get next? Like mages shooting frost bolts and ice nova so units get stuck in water. Like what are we gonna do? Like we have to keep it like
grounded,
grounded and a bit more like towards AoE that that everyone.
Hey, listen, give them
grew
enough
up with.
DLCs, and we're gonna get some of that. Just give them time, just give
for
them
sure.
time.
We're gonna
Ages
get
are coming.
we're gonna get spells from the monks, like they can
That's
they
a
can
point
freeze
for
units
sure.
and stuff like that.
All right, so of course, let's make it clear there's a lot of unknowns here. There are other ways of balancing this potentially that we're not getting access to. So just to make that clear, there's also a ton of unique units. I wish there weren't so many. We didn't have to memorize new units, but we have no info of those in terms of stats and costs, so it makes no sense to talk about it. So then, with this DLC, the new water rework that was first tested in the Thalassocracy 2 will also come into effect. Boys, as I was seeing, there don't seem to be any big changes from what we saw in the tournament, but they did mention they decreased the attack from hulks. They made demolition ships stronger again, and ships now move slower, which I believe was pretty much the general consensus across pros. These were the things they had to fix, right? So do you see this having a positive effect now, MBL, on the water meta?
I hope so. I was not a fan of this Hulk tradition at all.
I don't think anyone was, yeah.
So I was thinking maybe this would be really like bad for the game, but if they make a really good balance out of it, then I can be open for anything, honestly.
Yeah, I would say actually I saw an idea that I actually loved. I don't think they have time to implement it, but let me pass that on here to the podcast listeners as well. So people were saying on Reddit and various media that the triangle should be different. So right now the Hulk counters the fire ship and the fire ship counters the galley. They suggested that the Hulk, which moves really fast, should counter the galley, and then the fire ship should counter the Hulk because you can set it on fire so they can't like board you because they're on fire. And then the galley moves a little slower than the Hulk, so like that could work in some cases. You could just defend them because you do mass damage to them. And then in this case the galley would counter the fire galley, which it already kind of does in a way. So I think that triangle might actually be really interesting and worth testing. Currently though, as is, like with the current triangle that they have now, I think that the water gameplay kind of gets a little worse than it is now with the addition of Hulk. I really don't like the Hulk unit.
Mm-hmm.
However, I do like some of the addition of the university technology. So I think overall it's probably a net positive, but I have a big dislike for the Hulk unit and how it feels. It's really clunky and awkward to use, and the stacking is a bit weird. So yeah, it's not going to be the most fun to play with for sure.
All right. They also added a new long-range ship for civs that didn't have it. That's the Catapult Galleon. So again, we don't have access to the stats on this new ship, but now every single civ will have access to a long-range ship, be it Ramens, Luchuans, Cannon Galleons, or Catapult Galleons. So reminder, the new DLC comes out February 17th, and you can still pre-order it with a 15% discount, my friends.
So in the middle of TTL, no? But I guess that's fine. Like if it's a league, we have to adapt, That's
yeah. I think that we will do the first group stage without them, and then for the playoffs, I think we will have to use them. That's what I imagine, but it really comes down to T90 and the admins there. It's their call.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay, so then to close things off, and just as you mentioned, Titans League 5, let's get into it. I would like to hear some very quick thoughts from you guys on the Titans League Season 5 Platinum Division, which starts precisely today. MBL, you're in Group A, and your group is you, Leary, Barles, Dado, Lix, and Repart. 3 players qualify for the round of 12. Who makes it?
Okay, let's see my group. I think Leary is going to be first. Tato second and me third. Barles fourth. And then Repard and Lix gets eliminated.
Boom.
That's my...
You gave me more than I asked. Perfect. Then Group B, literally the group of death here. That's Hera, Hart, Yo, Winchester, Lucho, and Siskan. Who qualifies here?
This group has 4 of the 8 RedBull players, by the way.
Hera goes through.
Probably.
This is a sick group for sure. Hera goes through. Hart second. Yo third. Winchester fourth. Lucho and Siskan gets eliminated. But that group, honestly, anything can happen. Except for I don't think Siskan will win anything almost. But I think Lucho can be the terrorist in that group, like taking points from people. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just like the ladder terrorist he was in the Red Bull, where he was like sitting, Lucho 1550 rating, killing all the pro players for no reason.
with extreme aggression and arches and all that. So Group C, it's ACCM, Lewis, Freaking Andy, Nikov, Running, and Sebastian. What do you got here, Hera?
I would probably say Sebastian and ACCM should top the group. And I would say for the third place, I'm going to put Lewis at number 3. He's a bit of a dark horse there. I think freaking Andy and Nikov are probably a bit stronger overall on these settings, but I would probably go with Lewis. And then I would say Running's going to have a tough time. He might be the guy to drop out.
Okay. And then Group D, we have Viper, Dark, Cito, Mihai, Dragonstar, and Vivi. MBL, who makes it through?
Well, this group is probably the group that is probably like on the level-wise, maybe the lowest, but still.
Lewis called it the Silver League group.
Silver League group,
but that was Lewis.
Still pretty strong potentials here. I think Viper wins it. Cito number 2, Dark number 3, Mia number 4, and then Vivi and Dragonstar gets eliminated.
All right, so we got the predictions locked in. Hera, you're often very critical of map pools in STR tournaments. So how do you rate the map pool in Titans League 5?
Actually, I love this one. I played some games yesterday, majority against MBL, but against like Leary and some other viewers as well. And the maps seem really fun, actually. They're not perfect. There's some that are like can be tweaked a little bit, but overall, the maps seem really cool. There's a lot of strategies that work on them, and I'm having a good time playing them so far. So yeah, so far so good. Usually what happens is I love them at first and I hate them by the end. That happens for everything because you just play them so much. But no, I think they're actually looking really good, at least at first glance.
Okay, cool. MBL, thoughts on the map?
Yeah, I also think they're good. Most of them. I don't like maybe some of the like. It was like a map with arena regicide, something like that. There is a bit too much arena maps, like closed maps, maybe, which actually does favor Running in that group, by the way.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah,
super arena player. So I don't. I think the arena players can do really well. For example, this season, which also puts Hera in a tricky spot because if you play arena against Hera, then you start to make it a little bit more 50-50. But if you play,
I'm such an arena player. You haven't watched the Mark Rushes.
Yeah, you're really good, but like the thing is that we get the same timings, we get the same kind of like eco going, so it ends up becoming a late game war. But if you are playing early opening a Hera, it's way harder to play.
Interesting.
So I also think that if people want to have a chance taking down Hera, for example, these arena maps can be pretty interesting to pick.
MPO, you're thinking a lot about me. I'm not in your group. Do you know that, right? you have to think of the other players.
What can I say? I'm in love or something.
That's always thinking about you. All right, boys. Thank you so much for your time. This was so insightful as always. MBL, really appreciate you coming along and giving us your takes on these things.
Are we done already?
We're already done. We're already done, bro. Believe it or not, it was 40 minutes. We're already done. So really appreciate your time. And thanks for joining us.
No problem. Have a good one.
All right. And if you guys enjoyed the show, you guys know what you have to do. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll be back soon. Thanks, everybody.